choose it no more. Don't wanna hear the sound. Hey, there's another way. Yeah, it's about just walking away. Go ahead and make that choice for all who live here. We gotta stop the violence. Think about that. Gotta take a life that you can't bring back. Don't do it, no. Don't pursue it, no. Don't choose it, no. Don't wanna hear the sound. Hey, there's another way. It's about just walking away. Go ahead and make that choice for all who live here. We gotta stop the violence.
WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
Each year, 650,000 individuals are released from jails and prisons across America. There's a 67% chance that they'll be incarcerated again within 3 years. While this is a big problem, there's an even bigger solution: education. Education is the most effective response to crime, and College Initiative works to make college a realistic goal for formerly incarcerated New Yorkers. College Initiative works to help formerly incarcerated individuals to become stabilizing forces in their communities and advocates towards working for a safer New York. For more information, visit www.collegeinitiative.org.
With today's unpredictable economy, it's become quite strenuous for millions of jobless Americans to keep their heads above water. Yet as strenuous as it is for the average American, what about the formerly incarcerated American? Well, this is just how strenuous it can be. Recent national surveys indicate that the unemployment rate among the formerly incarcerated 1 year after release may be as high as 60%. However, fortunately, there's Fortune Society. For nearly half a century, the Fortune Society has proudly assisted formerly incarcerated men and women in the New York City area. The Fortune Society's initiatives include housing, education, employment, and substance abuse treatment, which have reinvigorated the lives of many. If you or a loved one have recently been released from prison and are actively seeking to fully reintegrate into society, visit fortunesociety.com for more information.
Man Up in Harlem is a by men for men ministry that focuses on creating positive changes in the Harlem community through prayer and community service. The group hosts a men's empowerment hour every Wednesday at 7 p.m. in the Polo Grounds Housing Community Room, and a weekly prayer walk every Thursday morning in several locations. At the prayer walk, members pray together in a football-style huddle about community issues. Man Up in Harlem's slogan is "Don't talk about it, be about it." If you'd like to join a prayer walk, meet at 6 a.m. at the 155th subway station for the Polo Grounds House Walk, or at the Dunkin' Donuts at 126 in Amsterdam for the Grand House Walk. For more information, please check out www.manupharlem.org.
This is WHCR 90.3 on the FM dial. Coming to you from the campus of City College in Harlem, USA. I'm Brother Leroy, thankful to the Most High for blessing us with another day on this good earth, another day to do some good deeds for ourselves, our families, for humanity, enabling our community to be a much better place. It's already good. We just need to make it a much better place. This program, Respect for Life, I hope I said that. Respect for Life is the program that's coming on. I'm Brother Leroy. Respect for Life does not reflect the views, attitudes, whims, deeds, or any other proclivities of the management of WHCR, nor that of the administration of City College. However, the program does reflect the research done by the participants in the program who are live and live in color in studio by phone interview. And, of course, there is you, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, boys and girls, the first-class citizens of the world. We are thankful to the Most High for blessing us with another day on this good earth, another day to be with you, you to be with us. This is a classroom. You'll have the opportunity to call in 212-650-6903, 212-650-6903. And Miss Dorothy Dunning.
This is Hattie Bonds.
Miss Hattie Bonds, you're calling in conjunction with Sister Dorothy?
Yes.
Okay, you beat her to the punch, and we're going to wait for her to come on. And
good. I'm glad I got in on time.
Well, you got in.
Central Standard and Eastern Standard Time mix-up yesterday.
Well, you're in on right on time, and we're going to go to a music intro, which is fitting for our subject today, ladies and gentlemen. The subject this morning is stealing black babies for dollars, and that's happening coast to coast in the USA. You heard of sex trade, trafficking, and sex slavery trafficking. This is a little bit different. This is happening within the legal, and I put that in quotes, the legal bounds of various municipalities, and it's happening wholesale. We'll get into that in a few minutes. We'll be right back. Hold on. Wait a minute. I put the wrong CD in the bad boy. Okay. Brother Leroy is getting himself ready. And hold on a second now. Hold on. Can't do that. Brother Leroy had this music here yesterday and put the wrong CD in the wrong thing. Put the bad boy up there to play. And this is live in living color radio. And well, we won't have a chance to play it. We'll play it during the show. And let me see if we have Sister Dorothy Dunning. Sister Dorothy Dunning? Sister Dorothy.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, I'm sorry. I had it down low. I'm having a little technical difficulty here this morning. Is this Miss Dunning?
Yes, it is.
Okay, we have Sister Hattie on the other line. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll get right into our interview. Sister Dorothy Dunning, DUNNING. There is a website for her on Facebook, Dorothy Dunning. And I'm going to approach this interview, since we've done two others on Blog Talk Radio. We're going to try to give as much information as we possibly can in this 50 minutes or so that we have here. However, let's start this way. Miss Dorothy Dunning is in Mississippi, and her son, and we'll say his common law wife, had two babies. And she'll tell us the timeline on that. And she is a fit grandmother, and that was already satisfied in Mississippi, communicating the social services in Mississippi, communicating to the people in Minnesota. However, they drugged the Minnesota people. They delayed the process with which she would be able to get her children or her grandchildren to the point where she is now fighting an uphill battle, but a strong battle, to get to her children, to get her grandchildren into her custody in Mississippi. Now, before we get into her story, here's what I'd like for you to share with us, Sister Dorothy Dunning, is that after your story began to get out by various communication, by some radio appearance, some blog talk shows, and also newspaper stories, what was the surprising reaction that you got from other people and calling on you for help? Share those stories with us, and then we'll get into your story.
The surprising reaction, Brother Leroy, good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
The surprising situation is, like, people start calling me from everywhere once the story started getting out. And it really let me know it's not only happening in Minnesota, it's happening everywhere. People calling from New York, California, Texas, Georgia, I mean just all around the world. People are calling and said they are going through the same thing. They are taking their children for any little thing, and a lot of the children can be returned back, but they are deliberately not turning the children back home. They keeping them over any little thing, like, for instance, like one lady said that she was taking her children to the doctor too much. I never heard of anything, but it was proven that the baby was misdiagnosed. And and she got a letter from the doctor, and they wouldn't even honor the letter. I mean, literally wouldn't even honor the letter saying that the child, where they had misdiagnosed the child. And then other people said that one girl said she had a sister in Minnesota. Her sister was on drugs, and she was a stay-at-home hairdresser built onto her house. Her husband was a policeman. She couldn't even get, and they have no criminal background. She couldn't even get her own sister's children. So this is a problem going on, and it is a problem that, and I'm sorry to say, Brother Leroy, a lot of people in our community are putting their head in the sand. And it's like people like Miss Hattie Bonds and different ones who's standing up and helping me fight this fight. And also, they even started harassing Miss Hattie Bonds for helping me. But one thing I like to give credit, Miss Hattie said no matter what, she going to continue to fight the fight. And see, and this is what we got to do as people. We got to band together, because this is what they're trying to do, is break our will and don't trying to do everything in their power to stop us from fighting, to show what's going on. And this is what we need to do. We need to put a stop to it, Brother Leroy.
Sister Dorothy, we'll get to you in a second. Sister Hattie, I want to summarize for our audience what you've said at this point. Not that it's not understandable. With the young lady whose children were taken because she so-called took them to the doctors too much, there was a misdiagnosis by one of those doctors, which resulted in the child not getting well and her having to return over and over again because that problem was there. The social services and the whoever the medical people are there reporting on this indicates that the children are being taken to the doctor too much, so this woman is not fit as a mother. That's the story, correct?
Yeah, they were calling. This is Sister Hattie Bonds.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
Good morning, Mrs. Dunning. I didn't know if you knew I was already on, but I beat you to the punch this morning.
Go ahead, Sister Hattie.
With the time. I am here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and the young lady, Tiffany Wallace, they're saying, I met with her a couple of days ago, and they're calling it medical abuse. Because she took the children to the doctor too much. Now, I just want to give your listening audience just a little bit of background about me. And Ms. Dunning, and you are right, too, Brother Leroy.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
It's human trafficking. I didn't realize it until recently. I am a retired public school principal. I myself worked in education 37 years, and to be very honest with you, we saw this coming, and about, I guess 7 years ago, some of us here in Minneapolis, we rebelled against the University of Minnesota, because this country has one resource to make money off of, and that resource is human beings. This is not only going to happen to children, this is going to happen to anyone who somehow gets in these systems, even senior citizens. It's tied to the mental health piece, and it's tied to the huge pharmaceutical companies. And so if you can snatch families, children from them, discombobulate the homes, cause people to go into these sales stands, which is what people do when you come and take your children. Like, for instance, Tiffany, who they said was taking her child to the doctor too much. How would you feel? You're a mother of 4. She's a young mom. She's a single mom, and that's the other part to it as well. They're snatching them from the young single moms, African Americans now, but guess what? They're going to get to the immigrant children next.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay? Mm-hmm. So, and the retaliation for those, and the reason the leaders I know I'll just speak for Minneapolis, they're not going to help because these people are powerful people, and they do things to you. And I'll give you an example.
Yes.
I have 3 little boys that I adopted. Now, these children, the first one, when he was 4 years old, that's when I got him in foster care. I never wanted to be a foster parent. I thought, well, when I retire, I'm kind of high energy. I'll just take some children and raise them, get them educated well. And I told him, I said, my goal is to get me 4 little African-American boys. Because here in Minneapolis, over 90% of the children in foster care are African-American children. African-American children. And they're going everywhere. There are a few other cultures. My oldest one happens to be a Caucasian child.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't ask for that, but I think they thought I would be a very good, parent for him and could get him educated well, and I was very highly skilled. A 37-year, I've been a science teacher, a principal, and associate superintendent. And so there we are. As soon as I started helping Mrs. Dunning, they go back and they pull up my oldest child. He has a lot of mental health issues and that kind of thing. And he had said I hit him and was mistreating him and blah, 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 and on and on and on. So they go back from a year ago and they pull that up. Pretend like they sent me a summons to come to court, which I never got any summons to come to court, or I would have been there. It was no problem for me. Came and actually arrested me. I'm a 60-year-old woman. I have never in my life had any trouble with the law. Don't intend to, never have. These are the kinds of strategies they start pulling on you when you start helping people of a significant level. Because whether, I'm sure people realize that this is a real significant case here that Mrs. Dunning is going through. It's kind of the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. We fought for this situation way back in, what years? Probably 15, almost 20 years ago here in Minneapolis. It was called the Baby B case. It ended up going to the Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court. Somewhere along the line, our leaders and legislators here have, and that's what we put in Minnesota, what's called a Cultural Heritage Act. The Cultural Heritage Act says that if there was a person of that child's culture that would be available to take them, and that would be the most probable thing. And it's okay for cultures to mix and to blend. Like I said, I have a little boy who's not my same culture. But I can guarantee you one thing. If any of his white parents or grandparents or family members wanted him, I wouldn't have had him. And neither would I have even fought for him, because it's good for children to be with their biological families if they have people that will take them.
Exactly.
It's good. It's a good thing. That's that connection. And so here we have this battle fighting it again, because somewhere along the line someone has come up with something else called best interest of the child. Well, best interest of the child, based on what? What's your criteria for best interest of a child? And that has been my question. But back to Tiffany, I couldn't believe it when she told me they took her children because that her child was being taken to the doctor too much.
She was taking one of the children, and they took all 4.
Exactly. And so what is that all about? Now, this is not, I thought Hamilton County was pretty rough. And I'll be honest with you, my personal experience with them had been perfect up until I started helping Mrs. Dunning. And then we had a whole other issue. The Director of Health and Human Services here, I spoke with him. I guess they figured, well, we got to strategize to get rid of this woman trying to help this other lady. Since then, and they do give me, like child care subsidies for my children. When I adopted these children, I actually had no idea there was any other money tied to it, to be honest with you. I thought, okay, when I retire, then I won't have to pay for babysitting. And to me, that was a perk. I was doing it out of my heart, out of the love for my community, because I saw all these children come to my school day in and day out. Nobody that loved them, nobody that cared, and they were in foster care or
That's
something,
amazing.
and it just bounced around from home to home to home to home. So these people tend to, and I know it's not just here in Minneapolis, they tend to create situations where, you know, they're making, you know, jobs for themselves, so to speak. You know, you should be trying to work yourself out of a job.
Well, that's our healing approach. Our healing approach is to enable a person to get well and not come back to our office anymore. But this system is tied on keeping people ill and milking them for money, 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 and killing them at the same time. Now,
And not just milking them for money and keeping them ill, but not only that, to go in and actually try to disaggregate and create situations in families. So when these people had come to arrest me for this bogus thing that has been long gone closed a year ago, guess what? I have my 2 children here. If there had not been a sitter here, they came to get me on a Friday night, 9:30. What are you doing coming to get an old woman on 9:30 Friday night unless you're up for something? Hoping to catch. I figured it out later. Me here by myself, they were taking my other 2 children to this St. Joseph's Home for Children, and then start trying to discombobulate these children that upset them. Why would you do that? You are creating situations where you're causing havoc in our families. It is nothing short of a civil rights movement that needs to happen in this country. It is absolutely deplorable. And I'll shut up because I can talk and use your whole time. Let me let you have that, Leroy.
Well, I'm glad that you came on. I didn't know that you existed until Sister Dorothy Dunning came our way. Now, Sister Dorothy, first of all, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, the Respect for Life audience, WHCR Harlem Community Radio, you can have friends and relatives tune in to this program by way of the internet, and they should go to www.whcr.org, or they can go to YouTube and put in one word, Streaming University, and then look for the icon DDP, and they'll be able to also hear this interview live and also to retrieve it later on for those who didn't hear it but need to hear this information. Dorothy Dunning is our guest along with Sister Hattie Barnes. Dorothy Dunning is the grandmother of 2 children whom she is in the process of fighting to gain custody of. Now, Sister Dorothy Dunning, since we started at the present, we're going to go to the beginning. In capsule form, share with us the story of one of your sons and the young lady who he had these 2 children by.
Yes, excuse me. Yes, Brother Leroy. This came to my attention, and my granddaughter was born in October the 22nd, 2009. And what happened was, Brother Leroy, is my son and the young lady was on drugs. The baby was born in the state of Minnesota, and anytime you born with drugs in your system, they removed the children. So what happened was they removed them, and Minnesota has a law that they supposed to been contact me in so many days. Minnesota did not contact me at all. Tell me what 4 addicts that you know who are strung out on crack gonna take the time and tell you about a baby. They next thing on their mind, Brother Leroy, is going to their next fix. So they had the state. It was up to them to call me and notify me. And Brother Leroy, the girl told them who the father was. They act like they didn't know who the father was. If my son been arrested up there for drugs and different things, all you have to do is Google my son's name. You would have pulled up everything. You'd have pulled up all the notches. They didn't want to do it. They had already had a Caucasian family placed and lined up for these kids to go to. And when I started fighting for my granddaughters, I literally, the first time I called to the listening audience, when I discovered the baby was in the system, the baby was just had turned 2 months old. And I've been fighting this fight, and this baby's 3 months old. Where the ball was dropped, Minnesota is blaming Mississippi for taking too long, and Mississippi is blaming Minnesota, saying that they wasn't going to give me the children all the time. Because, like I said, the social worker said she had been doing this for 20 years.
The Mississippi social worker.
The Mississippi social worker. And she told me, she said, Miss Dunning, this is a game they playing. She said, I done been down this road before. She said, they not going to give you these kids. I said, yes, they is. I said, yes.
And they keep having you jump through different hoops
that is
of paperwork to get things done, and it's stalling. So they can sit back and figure out what they're going to do next to put a block on it.
Now, this for our audience, for me and our audience, this is what's in front of us. Here's a lady who's trying to get her 2 grandchildren. And here is a conspiracy, it seems, on the part of the people in Minneapolis to keep the 2 children away from her. And you say, well, what's unique about these 2 children? And you and I, we sit back and listen and you say, well, we come up with all kinds of stuff in our head, but the bottom line, based on the series of interviews that I've done with Miss Dorothy Dunning, but first of all, starting with Sister Sharon Salam, who is Yusuf Salam's mother, and her case and Sister Dorothy Dunning's case have similarities, and I'll just give this quickly. Dorothy Dunning is fighting for her grandchildren. Other people hear that she's fighting for her grandchildren, has a website, there's an article. They say, hey, this happened to me too. So they come into her as though she's an organization, okay? Sharon Salam was in court fighting the railroading of her son Yusuf Salam and the others in the so-called Central Park 5 Jarga case. And because she's in court fighting for her son, she runs into parents who are fighting to retain custody of their children. They come into her for help. As a result, Sister Sharon Salam begins an organization called People United for Children. So it comes out of 2 women, one in New York, Harlem, the other one in Mississippi, going between Mississippi and Minneapolis, fighting for their children. And because they stand up, others of us have come to them for help. It's quite interesting. Now, on the pathway that Sister Dorothy Dunning has been treading, she has come across various people who have willingly said, let me help you in this. And you hear Sister Hattie Barnes saying she offered to help and got involved, and she's articulate. And when I say articulate, she's wise to the use of language. And when she gets involved, she's not in Mississippi. She's right there in Minneapolis. She becomes a threat to them. And as in bureaucracies that you've experienced right here in New York City, could be our own people. They will get even with you, try to get even with you just because you think you something. This is
and then too, not only because you think you may do something, our own people have vested interest in these kinds of dynamics as well. Because, as we all know, we've always had, even from slavery, that you have your overseers. Mm-hmm. And if you have people in high positions that look like you, but they don't think like you, there's no diversity in thinking there, they can be pretty much worse on you than the worst Ku Klux Klanman or the racist person who is flight from that power symbolization. And so that's also what's kind of happened to me. There are other things going on. And I understand why people here will not stand up. People told me, stay out of it. You know what? I feel this way about it. And I'm going to be very honest with you. I was a teenager when the civil rights movement hit before. I understood the riots. We participated in marches in my high school. And let me tell you, one thing you've got to do at some point is stand up. Because if you don't be, if you're not going to stand up, you'll just get, it keeps coming at you, and it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. Now, those people in the civil rights movement, back in the day, they sacrificed something.
Yeah.
Many of them sacrificed their lives, they sacrificed money, they sacrificed everything. And one of our problems now is that we as a people, we don't want to sacrifice anything. You can take the car, you can take the home. I can't take it to the grave with me, but you would not take my dignity, and you can't take my education. You really can't take anything from me, because my power comes from God.
Go ahead.
And God, this is really God's battle.
That's
the battle belongs to the Lord, bottom line.
Love
and
it.
I'll tell anybody, if you're not willing to stand up for something, you'll fall for anything. And our people across this nation, it's not just in Minneapolis, we're falling for anything right now. It is absurd that you would tell a young woman you're taking your child to the doctor too much, and you take the children out of the home. And I didn't really, to be honest with you, I'm here in Minneapolis. I've been in here 27 years. I didn't even believe this exists. I didn't believe it at first when the girl told me that.
Hold your point for just a second while we do this.
WHCR 90.3 FM, New York.
This is Harlem Community Radio station WHCR 90.3 on the FM dial, where you hear information that you do not hear anywhere else. But that information is accessible to others, but you hear it right here. And that's why we ask you to support WHCR, non-commercial station, with your letters of support. Very important, because there are folks who have zeroed in on Brother Leroy to remove him from the airways, and it takes your letters of support to say, hey, I've been getting some great information on this program. Who has a right outside of our community to even want this brother off the air? And I'm not talking this from an ego standpoint, because there are others who could bring the same type of information, but they will set us up as an example to keep us in the rest of the chickens in their place. So I'm always asking for letters of support. I don't even ask for donations anymore. You can send donations if you want to, $2, $5, whatever the situation is. But this information that you're hearing here is so valuable and crucial to our community in terms of awareness that there are enemies right next to our community who don't look like us, who don't want this kind of information on the air. So send your cards and letters of support. Sister Barnes, you said you didn't believe that something like this would happen. At what point?
I didn't believe it. I did not believe it.
At what point were you convinced that it actually was happening to Sister Tiffany?
I met with her, like I said, a couple of days ago. I just knew she was not telling me something. I even said that to Mrs. Dunning. Didn't I, Mrs. Dunning?
Yes, you did.
I said, Mrs. Dunning, because Mrs. Dunning told me about her, because I invited Mrs. Dunning to my church. My church did some support of Mrs. Dunning as well, and we raised some funding to help her, with travel and that kind of thing. And when the young lady, I said, she's not telling something. I said, there's a missing piece. I met with the young lady, and Tiffany told me this, that, and she actually showed me the documentation of it. Paper, I got it in my car. Brother Leroy, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm also experiencing some pressure. I do a public TV show, and it's for fun. I did it to help children when I was working in the schools, to get them motivated to do something and to learn about TV and broadcasting. So I do a public TV show, and it's called For Women Only, so that we could talk about and have access to media around women issues. This is strictly a woman issue. So I've had Mrs. Dunning on my show a couple of times, and the public TV show, and I do upload it to Bing TV. So we go to BIP. Blip TV, BLIP, for women only.blip.tv, and you can see some episodes of Mrs. Dunning, me supporting her and talking with her and her husband when they came for the Supreme Court hearing, as well as some others that led up to that. And I don't just do this, I do other things, but I was talking to my guy the other day at the public TV station, and he's kind of giving me a little flack. So I said, okay, all right. And anyway, that's that part. Also, I just wanted to share Tiffany, and actually one of the ladies here, an advocate at the Legal Rights Center, she told me also about Carver County. Carver County is a way southwestern suburb of Minneapolis. And like I said, I have nothing negative to say about Hennepin County until recently when I started helping Mrs. Dunning. Then they beefed up to try to shut me down. That won't happen for me because guess what? I'm just like that. When things are wrong, they're just wrong, and you just can't do that. And I had no idea people were fighting across the country for their children.
That's right.
But I'm a flip back. If you go to CarverCountyCorruption.com, my goodness, will you see some interesting stuff on there. A judge in Carver County sought to shut down this website that these people were putting up about Carver County corruption around these foster children, and these children, they were taken out of their homes and just doing some things that were really unethical. I can't even go and tell you all about it, what I found out in a couple of days. Because, see, I'm a researcher. I go fast. And they really, it's just been extraordinary. So if you go to CarverCountyCorruption.com, you'll see what we're talking about. Those people have their stories on there. The judge sought to shut them down, a Carver County judge. They had to actually shut it down, but they came back and put it up some other kind of way. I don't know. But it's a effort to, when you catch them doing these really extraordinarily wrong things, they are going to try to go after you any way they can. And I've put in a plan, an emergency plan for my children, so that if they come to get me again, they come up with something else. I have family, friends, a strong support system. I say, just come get my children. I'll be okay. So I spent my first night in jail. I really kind of felt like Rosa Parks or Dr. King or somebody. So if they thought they wanted to embarrass me, if they thought they were going to degrade me, they didn't. I met some young ladies up in there. I'm going to be having them on my TV show, too. That's how I walk. That's how I operate. And I believe in God. I do not believe in the system of this world. There is another system. And God is going to, maybe he's part enough to bring this mess into...
Well, that's what a challenge is about. That's what a challenge... The enemy exists all around. But if we don't open up our mouths when they step on us, then our people are easy game for the same enemy and their friends and relatives.
Easy target.
Sister Dorothy Dunning, in the remaining minutes, okay, the situation with your first child, the first grandchild, the story is that you did not know. Well, the girl had told your son that the child was with her sister.
That is correct.
They got into an argument, and she says, well, she breaks it on him, the child is in child services, whatever that agency is called out there. And it's at that point that you began the effort to retrieve that child for her well-being within your home. And they string you along saying you have to do this, do this, do this, do this. And that's where the woman in Mississippi, the social worker in Mississippi, tells you, look, they are stringing you along, they're delaying, they're not going to give you a child. You believe the Minneapolis people. You say, no, because they're so sincere when they talk to you over the phone. At what point did it become clear that they intended to keep these children, and whose home was the first child put in, and the second child subsequently put in? So share with us that story.
The first home, and let me state this, Brother Leroy, I really want people to know, because this is a new audience. Both states backed me. The state of Mississippi backed me to get my granddaughter. The state of Minnesota backed me to get my granddaughter. But the judge, a Caucasian judge, overturned it and gave my grandchildren to a Caucasian family. Now, let me back up. This is what happened, Brother Leroy. The first baby was in there, and I had my son. It was an argument pursuit, And when the argument was pursued, the baby was barely 2 months old. And I had went and doing everything I know to do. They told me I had to go to school. They told me I had to get licensed. They told me I had to be fingerprinted. All that. We did all that, me and my husband. And then they try to use a tactic saying that my husband didn't do what he's supposed to do. So I had to go get the same social worker. She wrote a letter to the judge from her supervisor stating that Mr. and Mrs. Dunning did everything that was required of them. But they took my granddaughter and placed them in this Caucasian family. This lady have 4 children of her own. She have 4 children that she birthed. Then she has a little boy that she goes and gets from China. She has a little boy that she went and adopted from China. She has another little boy that special needs. All her children, she getting a special need. And people must know, in Minnesota, you get paid $96 a day if they special needs. If they, some even more, I have been informed by another social worker. And they pays $96 a day. If they not special needs, you get paid $20 a day. So she gets all special needs, $96 a day, plus she has another little boy, so that brings it up to 3 foster kids, 4 altogether. Then they, all of a sudden, while we have in court, there's a little Afro-American girl that's 16 years old, ran away from her home because she didn't want to listen to her grandmother, and ran away, and this Caucasian family took her in. And the little Caucasian family, she went to the Caucasian family. Brother Leroy, there's a law. No child, no person supposed to be in that home without being fingerprint or having a background. She was 16 years old. They allowed this girl to come into the home and stay there with no with no check, no nothing. So they are giving them special treatment. Like it's like black folks, we don't even exist. Why are they getting so much special treatment?
You mentioned the she had 4 children of her own, and then she has these other children adopted or in foster care. What about your 2 grandchildren?
My 2 grandchildren have not been adopted. She only have 1 adopted child she got from China.
Okay.
But the other 2 children, they are not adopted, because if she adopt them, that's going to cut their money out.
Okay. So how many children are there in that household, and what did the social services do for her home to accommodate how many children? And
it's 9 children in the home. They built 2 rooms onto her home. Taxpayer, the woman has a 9-bedroom house. They build these rooms onto their house, and they try to make like it's not about money, not about money. And they claim that her husband makes so much money. But Brother Leroy, I got documentations to prove it. They only listed his income. What about all the income for the children? So what they did is they took that income for them children and added in with his.
Or hid the I mean, if the income, we're playing with figures, so we really don't know if he has a low income, and they are hiding the fact that the income is coming into the household by way of support of these children. Or they could give him a large figure, which that would be a very substantial sum. So you can just guesstimate that, but this is not looking at the actual facts. But the point of the matter is that it's obvious that there's a lot of money being made by the individual family, but the state also gets money for...
That is correct.
Okay, and this ties in with another interview that we've done with Dr. Ernie Smith, who is in Oakland, and he, being a psychologist in these schools, out in California. He said he saw where all these black children are in foster care. Just verifying what Sister Barnes said, she sees these children coming into her school that she used to be the principal over, and a large number is foster care. And what is going on, what is happening to us that is not being talked about within our own communities. This is coming out this way.
It is being, people know what is going on. Some of our community people know, but because of retaliation, because they're fearful, it's kind of, I'm serious. It's almost like the Klan when they raided people's homes and did all these kinds of things to them. It's that kind of a situation. So if you don't have a lot of courage, you're not gonna, like, what did you say the psychologist was? His name is what?
Dr. Ernie Smith. Dr. Ernie
Smith. You see, this is serious business. This stuff is tied into big pharmaceutical money, because Tiffany, they even tried to get her, and Tiffany's a young lady who they said she's taking her children to the doctor too much. They tried to make her, in her case plan, they tried to make her take drugs, and they're putting the children on the drugs,
the
psychotropic drugs. Now, come on, you all. We know that all of those children that were in the Columbine, we know all those children that were, and that young man up there in Virginia Tech.
Yes. Sister Barnes. I don't know whether the line cut off. Sister Barnes. Sister Dunning. Sister Dunning. The voices that I'm hearing, that's in your background? Are there people in the background with you?
No, that must be Miss Hattie.
Okay, so I don't know what's going on there. I think she was going into the fact that these children who had gone off and shot people at Columbine and the one at Virginia Tech, a lot of them, and also this one up in Sandy Hook and the one out in Denver, there's indications that these individuals were on some type of drugs. Definitely the ones in Columbine were definitely on drugs, at least one of them. Now, Sister Dorothy, tell the audience what kind of help you need.
Okay, yes, Brother Leroy. I want the audience to know, I am a domestic worker. I clean houses for a living. I just want to give a little background real quick, Brother Leroy.
Yes, ma'am.
I never had to ask anybody for nothing. I always worked. I was making an honest living. My husband worked on his job 41 years, and he had just retired, and this case came. And all his retirement, every time I think about it, I get sick. Our retirement was wiped out less than 8 or 9 months. I am in debt with almost over $100,000 with this case. Fighting this case for over a year. I mean, they wiped me out less than a year. So I want people to know that I am struggling. I'm supposed to go every month to see my grandchildren. I cannot go, Brother Leroy, because I can't even buy a ticket for $300, sometimes $400, sometimes $200. And I am asking the people to donate. And this is another thing, and I don't mean no harm. I put this on my Facebook, and I want people to know that they can kill Trayvon Martin and raise Zimmerman, the Caucasian family, the Caucasian people. They can kill Trayvon Martin and raise him $100,000 less than 1 to 2 hours. I've been fighting this fight. They're trying to make a difference and put a federal law on the books. If it hadn't been for Miss Hattie and Miss Willie Mae stepping up and buying my tickets, I won't be able to go. Here I am. I need a ticket now. And I can't even get people to even put $5 or $10 in their account. And I'm fighting to make a difference for our people. And I need people to just hear me and take the time. It's me today. But it may be your family members tomorrow, or it may be you. And we need to take the time and help me fight this fight. Even all of my bills, everything, I let everything go to fight this fight. To let them see that you will not walk over me and handle me any kind of way. Put yourself in Dr. Martin Luther King's place. If he hadn't have done what he did for us, where would we be?
Right, and then even all those other people, you know, the Cheney, the people that went there to march, and you know, we just have forgotten that all of that.
And I need funds to get backwards and farther. If it hadn't been for Miss Hattie, I would be in trouble.
Sister Dunning, give the account how people can connect with you, and if they so choose to make a contribution, they can do so. How do they do that?
It is the Dorothy Dunning Fund, and you can go and you can in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's the TCF Bank. TCF Bank. The account number is 6441-59-5373. Let me say it again. The TCF Bank in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And the account number is 6441-59-5373. Anything that they can donate to help me fight this fight, because this case here is a make-or-break case. This is a big case. This is a huge case, and this going to make a tremendous change.
Sister Dorothy, Tiffany made contact with you before she met Mrs. Barnes.
Well, you know, actually, this is how it happened.
Go ahead.
I had known of Tiffany.
Okay.
Because I was an unbeliever of what actually happened and didn't know anything about it.
Okay.
And I had a fundraiser for Mrs. Dunning at my church.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
so I had to give my church the props, too, that my pastor said, yeah, you can do that here. And so that's what we did. And so it wasn't just me. I can't take all the credit for that. My church helped with that, and then I had another donor, and then my little public TV show, people that helped me with that. So all of that together, I did what little bit I could do, and I wish I could do more, and I will do what I can. But Tiffany was actually, I knew of her, I didn't know her story.
We got 1 minute.
Okay, Tiffany was at the event that I gave Mrs. Dunning, and that's where Tiffany came up and talked to Mrs. Dunning. And I tried to find Tiffany after that, of course, to kind of check into it. So that's where that came about. And I am a disabled person, too, by the way.
Wow.
My body doesn't work anymore with arthritis and all of these other things going on and back trouble, but I can talk. I can talk. It works real well. My mind and my mouth is real good.
Now listen, sister.
My body don't work well no more.
No, don't say that, because
can't move around. Get on a walker.
Right now you can't. But maybe some people out there can assist herbal, holistic way. For women only, for those of us who have internet, want to access the interviews that you've done with Sister Dorothy Dunning, you said for women only .blip. Run that one again.
Oh, yeah, it's for women only, just like FOR for women, WOMEN, only, ONLY, .blip, BLIP.TV.
Oh, okay. Beautiful. And Sister Dorothy Dunning, give the newspaper that first began to run your story, so people might be able to access it over the internet. You said it's on your website anyway, Dorothy.
Yeah, but brother, the case became so popular. All the people have to do is type in my name, Dorothy Dunning, DUNNING, and all the newspaper articles will pop up.
Beautiful. Well,
but I also
go ahead.
Like to make a plea to the public. Please contact the governor of Minnesota about this case. Not only that, reach out. I have been reaching out to Reverend Al Sharpton, Reverend Jesse Jackson, trying. I need a bigger audience with a bigger, I need a breakthrough so we can take this to a national media.
Excellent.
If someone is listening, please take the time and try to get this case to the national media. Because if we don't stop this, they're going to continue to do this. And we got to get it to where it needs to be.
Sister Dorothy Dunning, Sister Hattie Barnes, Hattie Mae Barnes. Wait a minute, Hattie Barnes.
Yes.
Hattie Barnes of Minneapolis, and Sister Dorothy Dunning. What's that small town outside of Biloxi? Gaucher, Gautier,
Mississippi.
Gaucher, Mississippi, a little town outside of Biloxi, Mississippi. Gaucher is where they grow and raise fighting spirited black folks, and we want to thank you very much. Thank you both, Sister Hattie Barnes, and thank you for the work that you've done with our children in the schools out there. That's a whole other story that you can tell separately.
That is a whole other story because let me tell you, it's about as bad as Mrs. Dunning's story. When you get old and can't get around, then your people bludgeon you to death.
They try to.
They try to. You're right.
And this is where good people stand up and in honor of the work that our ancestors and that our elders have done, and not let the evil exists where good men do nothing. That's
true.
Evil exists where good men do nothing. My sisters, thank you very much for this interview, and this is a series of interviews. God bless you both, and we will be in contact.
Yes, another interview. I would love to do another interview with Mrs. Hattie Barnes.
Well, that's coming soon.
Okay.
All right. Have a great morning. Bye now.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your support of WHCR. Sister Nellie Bailey tonight has a very interesting guest, Sister Ajua, who travels back and forth between Ghana, and she has some very interesting subject matter tonight at 6 p.m. Also at the Schomburg, there is an exhibit. That exhibit is Africans in India. Wow, I never knew that. The Taj Mahal and other great things in India come right from you, my brothers and sisters. Be sure you buy. I can't tell you to buy black newspapers because there are demons out there don't want us to say buy black newspapers. So I'm going to tell you this. Read your black newspapers. Do that. Spend time and read your black newspapers. Support black businesses in general. God bless you all. And may this week be a fantastic one for you. Thank you for your support of WHCR.
Veterans have difficulty transitioning their military skills into civilian jobs. In New York City, an estimated 17,300 veterans are unemployed. Are you invested?